Podge. My name is Cathie and today I've got a really fun, quick back to school project to share with you. This is perfect for crafting with kids on the weekend. They will love making these. I'm going to be turning these really cool plain canvas drawstring backpacks into something very artful using some folk art stencils. You can use any stencil design that you want. And I'm gonna use multi-surface paint, but the really cool trick to this is that I'm using the new Mod Podge washout formula. Now this formula is for kids and it will wash out of their clothes and things like that, which means it's also the perfect thing for doing some resist painting or resist dyeing. So this is a really fun, easy technique, and I'm gonna show you how to do it right now. The Kids Washout Mod Podge comes in an 8-ounce bottle, and for today's projects, I only use less than 1/4 of a bottle. I'm going to show you techniques using stencils and some freehanding. For my paint selection, I'm using Folk Art multi-surface paint. This is a fabric-friendly paint. This technique works best when you use 100% cotton fabric. I like to pre-wash my fabric and I give it a little press just to get out any wrinkles. Before you get started, make sure you prep your work surface and use a little wax paper in between layers of t-shirts or backpacks like the one I'm doing today. All right, now that we're all prepped up, let's get started on our first design. I'm going to be using this lace stencil first, and I like to tape my stencils down to my fabric just so they don't wiggle around. And I like to pour out a little bit of my Kids Washout Mod Podge onto a paper plate and grab my bouncer brush. Now you're just ready to stencil using your Kids Washout Mod Podge. I like to do this in an up and down motion using a bouncer brush or a foam paintbrush. While your project is still wet, make sure you remove the tape and remove your stencil while it's still wet. You're going to let your stenciled fabric dry for 4 hours before you begin the painting. Make sure that you wash your stencil while it's still wet. For the lace design, I'm using Folk Art multi-surface paint in Autumn Leaves. You'll want to paint solid over your stencil design, and for this design, I feathered the edges out across the rest of the backpack. Once it's completely painted, you'll let it dry for 4 hours before you wash out. To wash out the Mod Podge, you just use cold water and a little tiny bit of detergent. And I like to soak it for a minute first. Then you'll just rub it gently. You can use a small sponge or you can just use your fingers to remove the Mod Podge. And you'll be left with your beautiful painted fabric. Okay, now let's work on our second backpack of the day. This is our Love backpack. For this one, I just used a paintbrush and I'm freehanding the word love. You could use letter stencils also. For the Love backpack, I'm using a little bit of a stenciling detail. You can mix and match stenciling and lettering. Just get creative. I'm adding white to blue paint just to create some different variations of a blue color to create kind of like an ombre look on the backpack. For the ombre, you want to start with your lightest color on the top and your darkest color on the bottom. You'll paint the whole entire backpack and then wash it out the same way we did on the lace backpack. All right, guys, it's time for our bold faux tie-dye backpack. For this one, you're going to paint a bullseye in the center of the backpack using Kids Washout Mod Podge. Once that's dry for 4 hours, you can use a rainbow color of paints to paint over that, creating that tie-dye look. Let it dry for 4 hours and wash out, and now you got yourself one faux tie-dyed backpack. Thanks for joining us today on Make It with Mod Podge. Make sure you use the hashtags Plaid Crafts and the hashtag Mod Podge so everyone at Plaid can see what you're making. We'll see you next week with another video.